2 sucks.
Yeah. It's awful.
Really bad.
It may have been the worst comic. It's probably the worst comic of 2016.
That was 8 issues of not fun.
This is why I don't read events.
I'm an event person, so I'm extremely put off by this.
I'm actually liking Justice League vs. Suicide Squad.
I remember the first issue. But I'll get around to... I'll probably get along with that, because I like everybody involved, and I thought I liked everybody involved in Civil War 2, and turns out everybody's an unlikable douche.
Yeah, that shot of Spider-Man crying, or what was it? He was in the fetal position on top of that building.
Well, there's that. There's Carol's entire treatment of Miles, and there's just everything else. Or as Ed put it, the character assassination of Carol Danvers.
Yeah.
Too many people died, and, only 2 people died, but still, the deaths weren't fun to read. I said on our Lost episode, hopefully this has not become a Lost episode 2, that'd be the 3rd level of Lost episodes, it was like reading Injustice. I'm like, this isn't fun. Sure, things are happening. None of them are very enjoyable.
As Hunter put it, it's the Mortal Kombat taking place in the DC universe.
I can't believe the roadmap that Mortal Kombat vs. DC universe laid out for the next 5 to 7 years for that company. But anyway, I don't know. Chris, did you read Civil War 2? All of it? Any of it?
I haven't touched a comic in quite some time.
Well, I mean, honestly, you're not missing too much at this point.
Yeah, and as I said in whatever the last one I was on, I haven't read anything since early November.
I discussed last time. I'm behind on everything. I'm behind on Flash. What was that?
Double Dinosaur was the last thing I read.
I did. What the hell did I read? Oh, I finished up the last issue of All-Star Batman and loved that series to death.
Oh, yeah, I finally finished it, too. After we finished recording that Lost episode.
Yeah. I think they're supposed to... Go ahead.
I think the last thing I read was... Jesus, I don't even remember what the last thing I read was. I want to say it was... Black Hammer, maybe? I think that's the last thing I really remember reading, last thing that really stuck with me. So yeah, I'm way, way behind.
Reading All-Star Batman is kind of making me want to go read All-Star Superman, because I've never read that. I hear it's phenomenal, though.
Oh, it is.
Isn't
the Frank Quitely art is phenomenal.
Well, I love the art in All-Star Batman, too. It's my favorite bits about it. Yeah, the way Two-Face is drawn, like, his bat half is, like, kind of all, like, cross-hexed, and there's just this kind of diagonal design to it. I really like it. But other than that, no, I fell behind on everything. I fell behind on Flash. I fell behind on mainline Batman, current Superman. Justice League got kind of boring. I don't know what the hell's going on with that one.
Yeah, I dropped that one. That's one of the last ones I remember.
What were they, big giant gods? What the hell was going on?
It was the...
Makes sense.
As the trade puts it, the Extinction Machines.
What?
That's what they're called?
The Extinction Machines.
I would have preferred if...
I'd be more disappointed.
I'm pretty sure that's not what they're called.
I mean...
That's what the trade is called.
I mean, I guess when you think about it, every villain when they first appear must sound ridiculous to somebody. Like, when Darkseid first made his first appearance, somebody must have said, "Really? Darkseid? What the hell is that? That makes...
Dark Side.
Or Purple Man, for that matter. Purple
Man
just walked into a bar.
Well...
Also, no one was batting an eye for Darkseid because that's Jack Kirby. That was all Kirby.
Anti-Monitor is kind of a dumb name.
No, there was somebody who hadn't been reading his Marvel stuff, who, when he first showed up, and they were just like a total DC geek boy back in whenever, who, when they first read it, they were like incredulous about it. That had to have happened. I refuse any other reality other than that one.
I reject your reality and then place my own.
Yep. But, yeah, I don't know. It started to get really silly to me. that was one of the last books I remember saying, yeah, you know what, I think I'm good. I think
it wasn't
I'm real good.
It just wasn't. It wasn't bad, but certainly wasn't holding my attention for that matter.
Yeah, and I think the same week they put out Trinity, which is a book I actually do want to get back to. I just haven't.
It's they got affected by the plan from the Man Who Has Everything.
I don't know. Trinity is something I haven't picked up yet either.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah,
a bunch of stuff I still have to burn through. I still haven't read any of the Teen Titans stuff or Titans.
Titans is good. Teen Titans not that great.
Well, all I know is that Wally on the Flash run right now I find a little irritating. He's very bitchy.
Hmm.
But I guess, actually, while we're talking about this, we might as well talk about the Jeff Johns Watchmen thingamajig.
Yeah, he's writing the Rebirth follow-up, which is going to be Watchmen-centric.
Okay, so I want to pass judgment, but I want to know more about it. So, Alan, can you really succinctly explain exactly how this is going to work?
I don't think anybody's know yet.
Okay, right now there are a handful of books that are in the Watchmen / Rebirth line.
It's like nods and teases, right?
Yeah, most recently, Titans issue 6, when Abracadabra got defeated by the Titans after Wally came back through the Speed Force. Lilith was probing Kadabra's mind, and could only pull one name, and that was Manhattan.
If that isn't on the nose, and I don't know what is.
And there's theories that Mr. Oz is actually Ozymandias.
That I saw coming too. When I saw his name get dropped in the Superman comic, I was like, seeing the Watchmen nods in the first Rebirth comic, I was like, that's got to be Ozymandias.
And there was another blue energy person similar to Dr. Manhattan that has Dr. Manhattan's power set. Faked the death of Tim Drake and is currently holding him hostage. And also did the same thing to Doomsday.
I can't even.
I'm super excited because I love Watchmen to pieces, and if there's going to be more of it,
I love Watchmen also, but part of why I didn't read before Watchmen is because I heard so many mixed things about it. That's the only reason I haven't read any of it, just because I heard it varied in quality. Some of it was great, some of it was downright terrible. And for me, it's just leave those characters alone. Even if you don't like Watchmen, and those people do exist, and I'm sorry for your loss, they can still appreciate what it did, and what it did, even with Before Watchmen, is still unsullied. Because it wasn't like Before Watchmen was a big deal. No, it came and it went, and people remember it.
Was very quiet, and what we talked about it in the last little failed recording. I wanted to read it, but I heard mixed things too. I was like, I'll return to this someday.
Right. So this is making them part of the mainline DC canon, which isn't something you can erase.
Not just that, it's heavily hinted at that Ozymandias and Dr. Manhattan created the DC universe.
That's what I was going to get to, too. There's some implications that Dr. Manhattan, at the end of Watchmen, when he said, I think I'll go create life of my own, was implying that he was going to go make the DC universe. Which, that's the only thing where I'm like,
There's only one person who
has... That's a big step.
There's only one person on this planet who does not care, and that person is named Alan Moore.
Well, Okay, let's be fair. I don't really give a shit about Alan Moore anyway, so.
No,
Yeah.
no. I'm just saying he's the only person who doesn't care because he's retired.
Let's be real. Alan Moore doesn't care about anything except sitting in his castle worshiping serpent gods.
Yeah.
Right. And practicing sex magic. That's all he cares about. I
Sorry, I
mean,
was out there, and then I just heard sex magic, and I'm gonna need some elaboration on that.
Alan Moore, everybody.
I mean, here's the thing. If they were saying Grant Morrison was handling this, part of me would be more intrigued, because I feel like that makes more sense. I don't know why, but even then, I'm like, why are you doing this? I don't get it. Like, because the ratio for failure feels higher on this. I mean, if they feel like this is somehow going to increase their sales, fine, I get it. From a business point of view, makes complete and total sense.
Yeah, it does, because, like, I don't know, if I'm DC and I'm sitting on this property that, in a limited span, was hot, the comic book is, legendary, and the movie was a success, it's still fresh in people's minds. Like, if I'm sitting on this property, I'd be like, why aren't we doing anything with this?
Right. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Do I prefer this to them saying, we're going to do a new Watchmen universe, we're going to reboot the Watchmen verse and new Watchmen books, blah, 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 blah. I think I prefer this to that.
Yeah.
But it's very small, because here's the thing. I said that they can't undo it. They can retcon it out. You can
retcon anything.
I mean, Swamp Thing met in his last issue, what were they called? The Avatars of Creativity. That was already set up in the DC universe. It made no sense, but he basically met the forces behind human creativity, and they told him that he was a creation by a comic book writer, and then they allowed him to come back to Earth after he'd been destroyed so that he could defeat the Rot and the Machine Avatar, because they had united. Also, he accidentally created the Machine Avatar.
Man, I gotta read Swamp Thing.
Yeah, it got pretty crazy towards the end. So that's something that they could use, like the creativity avatar comes through and just like totally obliterates Dr. Manhattan. That's a possibility, I guess. But I mean, there's a million ways they could retcon it. But it's just like, why even have to pull that parachute? Just I don't know. I feel like I sound like an old man.
Get off the lawn.
Yeah, like just Watchmen's perfect. Like even people who don't like it that much will still say it's perfect.
They'll argue against sullying it because, like, it is what it is, and kind of it's wrapped up perfectly. We haven't gone back to it really since, except for before Watchmen, which is it's before, so it's not you're not. It's like Star Wars. Like we didn't have anything after Return of the Jedi for 35 fucking years.
Right. Like with what was it? With Sandman, that made more sense to me. Like bring back Sandman. It makes sense. I know that there is sort of a definitive ending to Sandman, but it's still a character that you can bring back. You can still work within those stories and tell new things, and it's a story about storytelling. So anybody who wants to explore that idea can reuse Sandman. Watchmen, again, like you're taking something that felt very definitive at the time, and you're saying, no, there's more. There's more things you can do with this specific cast of characters. But I don't know. Yeah. That's my feelings on that.
Well, if nobody has anything else to say about that, there's some Batfleck news.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck does not want to make a Batman movie if it is rushed, and he refuses to make a mediocre Batman movie. And if there's no good script and there's some kind of rush date, he doesn't want to do it.
I mean, that does a service to everybody, though.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, no,
It's a terrible Batman film.
I think we were all in agreement before. Like, this is like everything he's saying is pretty relatable.
Yeah,
And he has a reason to be saying this.
Yeah, I mean, he
was one of the three people who had to sit there and just like brace the storm of negative press from fucking Batman vs Superman, which is a project he was really excited for.
He also had to take the negative heat of Suicide Squad, which did have some negative heat. He was in both movies. It's well noted. Suicide Squad had 6 weeks to write the script. BVS is a movie that was rewritten and rewritten and rewritten multiple times, and I'm pretty sure it's a movie that
year to that development.
Right. I'm pretty sure it started off as just a Superman sequel. Like, you can totally see where they started like grafting new stuff onto it. You can totally see, oh, this is where they added Batman. This is where they added that plotline. This is how they had to squeeze him in. Oh, and this is a year later when they decided, you know what? Let's put Wonder Woman in this. Let's shove Wonder Woman into this movie. Let's just do it. Nobody will notice.
BBS or Suicide Squad?
BBS.
Okay. I was like, Wonder Woman's in Suicide Squad? What?
No. I'm just breaking down the development process of both films. Both films, behind the scenes, clearly fell apart in some way. Either there was too much too soon. They tried to make a 3-hour movie, which is something I still don't understand. And both movies ended up not being critical successes. And Ben Affleck saying, no, the script is going to be perfect and it's going to be tight before we go into production makes sense.
Yeah, and if I'm Warner Brothers, like, I'm going to listen to that because Warner Brothers' golden goose is Batman. It's hands down.
Yeah.
The WBDC partnership, like, when it comes to movies, Batman is the cash cow. Like, they just got off the Dark Knight trilogy, which made them so much money that Christopher Nolan can go do whatever the fuck he wants for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
You can't go backwards.
Yeah. Like,
you can't.
So I've heard a lot of other people give commentary on this specific quote. And what did worry me is, it worried me before. A couple weeks ago, he was saying that he liked the script that they were working on. It wasn't even like 3 months ago or something where you could see maybe something had changed. A month ago, he was saying, we're working on it. We're going to get it tight. We're going to make it good, and I'm going to start directing pretty soon here. And the movie's going to come out. And it's probably going to be called The Batman. And now that it's a month later and he's saying virtually the exact opposite. The movie's not done. The script isn't ready. And he stopped short of saying, I'm having disagreements with Warner Brothers and I'm having disagreements with Jeff Johns. Which is something you can read in between the lines, but there's so many different interpretations of these quotes that you can have. So it makes me afraid. Because Batman was supposed to be the one that...
The one that we were sure of.
Yeah. This is the surefire. This one, no way to mess it up.
Because what do you do when your Superman movie, if it kind of, commercially is mild success and kind of gets hit with critical flack, and then your next two entries in the universe get just rolled over by critics? What do? You pull the Batman card out of the deck.
Yeah. It only makes sense, I mean, I think Wonder Woman's going to do well, regardless of any of this stuff.
I hope it's great, too, because
I do, too.
My interest is high.
And, but, I'm still worried about Justice League. I'm less worried than I was.
I'm less worried because, that one teaser was I don't trust you, Zack Snyder, but, you gave me what we were kind of asking for, and that was some fucking levity.
Yeah. What that teaser did for me is it cemented all of the set stories that I had heard. Because I was one of those people that when they announced all the behind-the-scenes stuff, I read all the articles that sounded interesting, or where I thought that an interesting take could be taken from it. I watched videos from people who had been on the set, and when that teaser came out, I was like, okay, so everything that those journalists said is in this teaser.
Even the Flash thing, the Flash Bruce Wayne interaction was like spot on. It was almost verbatim what people had said it was.
Yeah, and so it gave me a lot of hope. I was like, okay, and watching the extended cut also helped a little. Not that much, because I still think the extended cut is terrible as a film. It's god awful on every level. Come at me, DC fanboys.
Yes, right?
Shots fired.
Yeah, BVS. The extended cut for that movie, it makes no sense as a movie. I've said this many times. Your Batman movie, your Batman and Superman movie, even if it has verses in the title, should not be 3 hours. I should be able to take a 3-year-old to that movie and not have them want to leave the theater when a giant bat creature comes out of a grave. Sorry, that shouldn't be a thing that I have to worry about. Shouldn't be, but it happened.
I frequently forget that happened.
Yeah, I remember it. Also, as I said in a previous episode, the rapiest scene in the history of cinema, in which Jesse Eisenberg sticks a Jolly Rancher into a grown man's mouth. A grown man with glasses and gray hair. He slowly sticks the Jolly Rancher in his mouth. Remember that, kids.
The same movie with a joke about a jar of piss.
Yep.
You know, I think Jesse Eisenberg in BVS is more like the Joker than Jared Leto is the Joker.
Do not get me started on Jared Leto's Suicide Squad performance. And speaking of extending cuts, now that I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it on the show before. After seeing all the stuff they cut out of the movie, fuck Jared Leto and that whole performance. I hope he gets fired. I hope they just redo the Joker altogether.
I'm with Sam on that.
Oh God,
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
Yeah, I suggested in the chat.
I'm pretty sure at one point in the movie he purred like a cat. I was like, well, this is dead to me.
Yep, it's my favorite part of his performance. He purrs like a little kitty cat. It's the greatest thing ever. I remember being in the theater and saying, is he doing cat noises? He's doing fucking cat noises.
I saw someone today mention the Jason Todd theory again, and I was like, you know what? At some point, most people were like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And now all those people are like, oh God, please let that be true.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I just finished reading The Fall and Rise of Captain Atom.
Like right now?
Yeah, I just read it. By
on the show?
You have a live reading, a storytelling?
No, I just read the first issue of the sixth issue miniseries by Cary Bates. And he's the design that he's been very made to look like Dr. Manhattan. And
more on the nose stuff.
Well, I mean, that's not hard, but yeah.
Something happened where at the end of the issue, he blows up.
You mean what Captain Atom has done like every single time he's ever been introduced?
Yeah, and I mean, early Captain Manhattan or Dr. Manhattan.
Amalgam of
Captain
two.
Manhattan. Yeah, early Dr. Manhattan designs are literally Captain Atom. They're just, you look at him and you're like, oh, that's Captain Atom. That's what that is. Yeah, that's interesting, I guess. I don't know what DC is doing. I really don't.
I know, in touch with the Jeff Johns and watching stuff, and the same announcement that they said that there's going to be a new CW show.
Camp right now, though, with Civil War 2 and this.
Yeah. The big two have kind of lost me, actually. They're kind of
DC hasn't really lost me yet, because there's still stuff I really like. I'll get back into Flash at some point, but they kind of, the Godspeed arc really lost its steam with how quickly they ended it.
It was 8 issues.
It did not feel like 8 issues, because Godspeed shows up for 2 of them, and then Barry basically just punches him, and that's it. And then he goes to jail, and that's that. We get the reveal of who he is like in like I don't know the 5th or 6th issue, and then he's like, "I'm gonna go kill your enemies," runs off, and then Barry just catches him.
Connor, he did the same thing to Reverse Flash. He did the same thing to Zoom.
Yeah, that sounds unsatisfying. Thoroughly.
I do find it amusing that Zoom, Thawne, and Godspeed are all celled up, like, probably with the same hole.
No, I'm talking about Daniel West, Reverse Flash.
Oh, I still haven't read the Daniel West Reverse Flash story yet.
Yeah, he's actually Black Wally's father.
Yeah, I want to read it because that design is cool as fuck.
Yeah,
but,
Daniel West, Godspeed,
then they got the
and
Shade
Thawne, all jailed up in Iron Heights.
Well, Zalman's there too, because at the end of Flash Rebirth, when Thawne's captured, Zalman leans over and whispers into his cell that he wants to work with him on something.
Well, Hunter Zalman hasn't been introduced yet.
In the official rebranded Rebirth universe?
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Yeah, that's the great thing about these reboots is until someone's introduced again, they might not exist. Yeah.
Well, wait, wasn't that the whole purpose of Rebirth? Was to start acknowledging things that got erased?
Yeah.
Like members of the JSA and shit?
Okay, we should... I don't know how much you guys talked about Carrie Fisher, but I feel like we can talk about it.
Yes. And I had a week to process it. It's still... Oh, man, I'm so bummed out.
Yeah, a few days ago I was watching something from Spoilers a few years ago. Actually, not from 2012. It was when she was in the big chair.
Right.
Or the big throne.
That's the show that Kevin Smith was talking about, where he said, like, behind the scenes, she just walked up, sat in the throne, and he said, like, she belonged there, and he's like, 'cause she does.
Yeah, and he says she's practically royalty.
And we discussed this in the Lost episode, but I don't think any of us would kind of be into the stuff we're into if it weren't for Star Wars kind of bridging us into a lot of things, and Carrie Fisher was, like, a member of the Holy Trinity of Star Wars, and I am beside myself that we don't have her anymore, and it's going to be really weird to have to sit there in Star Wars Episode 9 and know she wasn't present for it.
Yeah, I mean...
Not just that. Like 3 weeks from now, when we watch the next episode of Legends of Tomorrow, because it has to do with George Lucas dropping out of film school.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez, how are they gonna... Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things. I don't know, for me with the Carrie Fisher, I mean, Connor, you're right. First two movies I remember watching as a child were Jurassic Park, the Velociraptor in the tunnels still scares the shit out of me.
Oh, God, yeah.
And all three Star Wars movies, just all at once.
I had a VHS of Return of the Jedi that I watched to death as a kid.
Yeah.
To death. It had a little gray strip in the top of it where it folded up.
Oh, yeah. But I watched those movies to death. And then, for me, this is something that is pretty... I assume it's pretty singular. So I grew up not having full cable packages, like specifically like 10 to like 13-ish. So my favorite channel was AMC. Now, for those who hear AMC and say, what, The Walking Dead and Mad Men and Breaking Bad?
AMC used to be an American movie classic, believe it or
not.
Yeah, I remember those days.
I was watching pre-Mad Men, kids, and guess what movies?
What about Mad Men?
Well, that one also. But the movies that were huge on AMC at the time were things from like early to mid '80s.
Blues Brothers.
So yeah, Two movies that I would watch a lot were
Right there with you.
Blues Brothers and...
Yep. That's what I was going to say. This is how I was introduced to Carrie Fisher, was through Blues Brothers. And, it hurts still thinking about it. Like, everyone posts, like, pictures of, like, Carrie Fisher and, like, Star Wars, of course, like, on their Instagram, as celebrate her life, as it were, and mourn her, as it were. And I'm just beside myself as to I'm one Dan Aykroyd away from completely breaking down.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like, I'm already kind of mentally unstable, but when Dan Aykroyd passes away, I'm going to be
one Dan
dressed up
Aykroyd.
as a squirrel.
I mean, Bill Murray's still a thing too.
Yeah. And the other one, When Harry Met Sally. That's a movie I've watched.
She's in fucking Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, along with Mark Hamill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, as well as George Carlin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, I miss George Carlin.
Just don't remind me.
Next year it'll be 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, no, Carrie Fisher's fingerprints are kind of like all over, like, just the stuff of my, not even just my childhood, like my adolescence, because like I said, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, the View Askew universe is like, that's the movies of my teenage to young adult years.
Yeah, and she's a part of, like, my understanding of how relationships are supposed to work. Like,
so not with your brother.
That's what you don't do.
Well, no, like, Harry Met Sally is, like, a formative movie, like, for me, is, like, how two friends are supposed to interact when they're, one is a girl, one is a boy, and also, like, but it also kind of gets to that point where they do actually fall in love, and it's like, is this how relationships work? Is this what happens when things get a little bit awkward? And I did learn that from When Harry Met Sally, and I've found through some rather painful experiences, yeah, that is kind of how it works when it does get a little awkward and it gets a little weird and things aren't exactly the way you thought they were going to be. So it was like a formative movie in that, and she is a big part of that movie. She is sort of the id to the who played Sally? Meg Ryan character.
Yeah.
So she's a big part of that movie. She is, one of the sort of back wheels of that movie, along with Harry's friend, whose name I can never remember. So yeah, she's such a formative part. And Blues Brothers is a movie where when I can't fall asleep at night, and when I need something to soothe me, that's what I watch. That's what I go to. That's it's still like a top 10 movie for me. So, yeah, Carrie Fisher is she's everywhere over all of our lives, and it really did suck.
Yeah, Princess Leia was the first fictional female character I idolized.
Can we just talk about her on 30 Rock?
I was going to say, not just on 30 Rock, but also in the sort of Star Wars movie Fanboys, where she had a little bit of a cameo.
I have not seen Fanboys, and I didn't watch 30 Rock regularly, so...
Watch Fanboys.
So. Oh, no, this 30 Rock...
Everyone tells me to watch Fanboys. I'll get to it eventually.
This 30 Rock episode was
really good.
Like 10 years ago. She was basically playing Tina Fey's idol.
Yeah.
And it turned out she was a crazy woman. And it was basically... She was playing Carrie Fisher was playing herself.
Oh, okay. I do like 30 Rock every time I saw it, but I just never watched it regularly enough.
Yeah. I think she's been in... I think she might have even been in that 70s show. Was she? I feel like that happened. That's another show for me, like, that...
No, Chris. Just no.
I think I think that is a part of my childhood.
They had a little, thing about Princess Leia, but I don't think she was actually in it.
Yeah. I feel like she might have been. I don't know. But even if she wasn't, again, that's a show that, half the jokes after the, I want to say, third or fourth season, it's just become Star Wars jokes. And it's constantly reminding you of Star Wars. It's Donna dressing up as Leia. And it's So, yeah, I mean, it's so crazy.
There's a lot of discussions right now about, and I've heard Carrie joke about those are the best. There's a lot to talk about right now about what to do with Episode 9, and I'm going to be one of those people. I do not want a undead CGI or resurrection of Carrie Fisher. I don't. I saw Rogue One, and I will say, I was going to get right to that. Peter Cushing being resurrected digitally is impressive up until he has to start acting like a human being. And then you're like, nope, is a human, not a human. Like,
well, I mean he's already he already had that robotic movement, as it were,
yes, and then as soon as it starts talking, you're like, it's interacting, and it's an it. It's not. I mean, it's a person under there, but what you're seeing is a product of, an actor standing there, and then a voiceover and facial animation. So it's not really it. Like I said, looks like a human, is not a human, and then it's talking to people.
Yeah,
and I'm like, this is really surreal, and I'm not sure if I like it, and I don't want to see Carrie Fisher get resurrected for extended amount of time in Episode 9 through this way, because it doesn't work.
At the end of Rogue One, was that up-res, or was that...
That was the same process.
Yeah, same process.
And like I said, it looks impressive when you first get your eyes on it, and then as soon as she opened her mouth, I was like, nope, Uncanny Valley.
Yeah, with her, every second she was on screen, it just got worse. Oh, she wasn't she?
Yeah, she played Pauline Kahn.
But with the Rogue One, so I kind of agree with you on the Tarkin thing. Although I think he worked half the time, the other half the time he didn't. The half time where he didn't work, he looked like one of the creatures from Life Force, which is I think the second time I've referenced Life Force. So
I think you're the only person I know who's ever referenced Life Force.
How Did This Get Made is responsible for so many horrible drunken nights.
Wow, I'm looking at what you're talking about, and holy crap, that is terrifying.
The way that the eyes sunk in, and the way that the shadows, and there were moments where he looks like he looks like a Life Force creature. And it's really unnerving if you've seen the movie. You expect him to open his mouth and drain somebody's soul. It's really weird, and it's especially weird when you look at pictures of the actor who was playing him on set. That guy could have just gone away with being Tarkin completely. I don't know how good his performance was, but part of why I think Alden Ehrenreich is going to kill it as Han Solo is because as a performer, he has the ability to convince you completely that he is who he is playing. If that actor has that, you could just have him without any of that digital face stuff and completely believe he is Peter Cushing.
I will say, whoever was doing the voice work for Tarkin, I showed it to a friend of mine, I threw my headset up as we were playing Dark Souls, and I was like, listen to this, and I hadn't listened to a line of dialogue where he's talking to Krennic, and he's like, I know that's not Peter Cushing. He's like, however, there are some vocal tricks he was doing that are spot on.
Yep.
When he roll his R's, I'm like, ooh, that's good.
Yeah, there's some... It's a really good performance, I think, when it works. So for Episode 9, I don't want them to do that. And I have a feeling that I have a feeling more likely they're going to do extensive reshoots with Episode 8. Extensive reshoots. Especially, because we have no idea what's going to happen in Episode 8.
No.
So, just spitballing. But all the rumors say that she is going to be a big part of Episode 8. That's not a problem for Episode 9, unless there's a suggestion, a heavy suggestion, of where her story arc is going in Episode 9. So if it's one of those things where they tell you about what has to be done, and she says, well, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and X, Y, and Z are obviously going to be happening in the next movie. In The Two Towers, you are given X, Y, and Z. This is what Frodo has to do. You see X, Y, and Z in Return of the King. That kind of thing. Plot-wise. So what I think is more likely going to happen is they have to reshoot entire scenes that were meant for Carrie and give them to another character.
My guess is it's going to be Luke.
Or they're going to have to introduce someone new. Or they're going to have to take a character...
I imagine they're going to... Because Billie Lourd's in the movies. She was in Episode 7. I heard she was supposed to be getting a bigger role in Episode 8 and 9. I'm imagining they're going to bounce stuff from what would have been Carrie's stuff.
Right. Maybe. And maybe even... So, I can never remember her name, but she played Ellie in Jurassic Park.
Laura Dern.
Laura Dern. She joined the cast. And apparently her relationship with Leia was supposed to be
antagonistic.
Very antagonistic. Maybe they changed her plot to be that the movie ends with Carrie Fisher dead, and she suddenly realized.
I would be perfectly okay with Episode 9 opening with General Leia's funeral. I'd be okay with it. It'd be You open the movie with that send-off, and then you don't have any kind of later awkwardness where you have stand-ins or CGI doubles or clever editing to make it seem like she's there, but we know she's not.
Right. And Laura Dern begins the next movie taking the Leia role, becoming the leader of the Resistance, going from being the person on the outside criticizing it to being the new, strong, female person in power.
Wait, I thought that Laura Dern's character in Episode 8 was a character already in the Resistance, but that she was mainly working. She was an isolationist.
No, she was a person from the Senate.
She's a politician.
She was. She had a previous history with Leia of being one of the people against her when she tried to start the Resistance. And I guess that you can learn more about that in the expanded canon. So they have a previous dislike and distrust of each other, which was supposed to be a big part of Episode 8. Like, Episode 8 on her side was supposed to be like a lot of political stuff and a lot of like, how are we going to continue doing this now that the Senate is gone? Now that the First Order has basically evened the playing field and put both of us on our heels. Which is how I've always read it, that was them evening the playing field and that they were losing before. So it'd be interesting to see how they change things. Unless their plan originally was to kill off Leia, which completely disrupts all of this. There were a lot of rumors that she was going to die at the end of this movie anyways, and this might just be, I don't want to say fortuitous, I don't think that's the correct word, but what's the word? Happenstance. Everything happens at the right moment.
It's
that word.
Fortuitous coincidence, I suppose, for the sake of filming convenience.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm not saying who the name of Laura Dern's character.
They're not saying shit about Episode 8. Like, we don't know anything about that movie yet.
They've said who Billie Lourd's playing.
Well, I mean, we know who's playing who, but we don't know. Right. We have nothing to go on.
Billie Lourd's playing Lieutenant Connix.
There's very little plot stuff. Very little. We know that Rey is training with Luke, and I did hear some rumors. I don't really want to give any away, at least not on mic, just because some people get really weird about spoilers. But I have an idea of what's happening with Luke and Rey. I assume that Finn's story is him trying to figure out where he is in the Resistance, like how he's going to help them. What is his role? Is he going to become an X-wing pilot? Is he going to become Princess Leia's personal guard?
Or where he fits in this world now? Now that he's no longer with the First Order.
Right, and I assume Kylo Ren is going to be a part of that also, Adam
Driver said in an interview that Episode 8 is going to feature more of his humanity.
That'll be interesting. It would be. I do think dual training sequences, like his training at the same time as Rey's training, will be something that's interesting to see, because we've never really seen two opposite sides training.
Also, because Snoke is going to be He's going to be puppeteered in Episode 8.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what I'm most excited about because...
Except for CGI for the face.
Yeah, which makes sense. But even if they do like a model of his face, I think that will be better because for those who are unaware, the problem with CGI a lot of the time is it's either rushed or the people who are making it, who are animating it, they don't have a good thing to base their CGI model off of. So they don't have access to a picture of a bridge that is in really high detail. So they can't make that bridge look good because they've never seen the bridge. So they're just designing the bridge from memory. And they have... So the result is that bridge in the movie, in movie X, doesn't look good. And you notice it in the theater. You notice that water looks fake. That's a problem. And I've noticed that with a lot of monsters. A lot of these monsters look fake because they have no basis for what a real animal looks like a lot of the time.
Yeah, so it usually comes down to movement. Like, you can look at something and go, that looks impressive. And then, like, same thing with Tarkin. Once it starts to do things where it's interacting with people, the magic is lost.
Yes.
Case in point, what's his fucking face from Episode 2, the 1950s diner owner?
Yes.
Is some of the fakest looking CGI I've ever heard, and I hate that movie to begin with.
Or as Mr. Plinkett refers to it,
I can't stomach that entire sequence.
Or as Mr. Plinkett refers to that creature, oh my god!
Yeah,
Yeah. But so yeah, them having like a practical Snoke to base the CG off of, I like that. There's a lot of all I'm hearing from this movie is good stuff. We're gonna get more of the Knights of Ren. I really hope that they redeem Phasma in this movie, but I'm getting the feeling that that's not going to happen.
Nope, forget it. Give me Trader Trooper. I want him back.
Well, apparently
bring back Spins.
Apparently they're replacing him with a new stormtrooper who, and you'll love this. Instead of 2 of those batons, or at the end, he has one of those batons, but there's 4 heads at the end. It's gonna be great. He's literally the exact same.
Oh my god, yes.
And he's played by Tom Hardy.
Oh, okay. You know what, Alan?
No, he isn't.
Well, Tom Hardy is rumored. He's on IMDb's rumored list.
I mean,
I'm googling this right now.
If he is in the movie, even if it's like Daniel Craig,
it's like all like IMDb is constantly wrong.
Yeah, that's why I said
horrendous source. IMDb still has Mortal Kombat 3 is in development.
Yeah, with Highlander as Raiden again. That'll be fun.
Oh, Christopher Lambert? Oh, that's gonna be awesome.
Christopher Lambert.
With an accent that I cannot identify.
He's supposed to be French, which is what
I
bothers
know
me
he's supposed to be
most.
French, but sometimes he speaks American, and sometimes he slips into something else entirely.
It makes
and
no
it constantly
sense.
sounds like he has a cold. Mortal Kombat.
I really wish Highlander were based off a comic book, then we could do it on here.
He went to Outworld where I cannot follow.
Yeah.
There can only be one.
There can only be one.
McCloud! This is the quickening!
Yeah.
Fucking goddamn it.
Add to the pile of impressions I've now done in this show.
Where were we?
We were on Carrie Fisher.
Roger, the Stan Lee experience.
Yeah, I mean, we used Carrie Fisher to talk about Star Wars.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing that's going to be really difficult now is reading the Star Wars comics.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like, I was really planning on getting into the Darth Vader comics, but I've heard that she is a kind of a part of it. I don't know.
No, she is very, very minimal.
Okay. That's
the Darth Vader comics are very Vader centric, and it's got more to do with
the prequels.
His core, it's mostly bridging prequel stuff into two original trilogies. But like, there's a moment where like Vader has no idea who the hell Luke Skywalker is. Like he's just like, who the hell is this kid who blew up the Death Star? And Boba Fett is the one who brings the information. He's like, oh yeah, this kid, his name's Skywalker, and he just walks away. And then Vader has a small meltdown where he is so enraged he almost blasts out the side of a Star Destroyer. He's just so pissed.
Yeah, he makes the door like one of the
He's
windows
cracking all the glass, looking out into space. It's really awesome. But no, it has more to do with like his kind of antagonist relationship with the Emperor. Like the Emperor is like, "Hey, you fucked up. The Death Star blew up, and it's all your fault." And so he makes him subservient to like. Remember that dude in New Hope who's like, the power of this battle station. Blah, blah, blah. Vader chokes. He's in that. Vader is kind of has to kiss his boots for a while. And then the Emperor's sending him on these tasks, and throughout the entire time, Vader's like, I know the Emperor's playing me, so I'm going to play him right back.
You know what this all sounds like setup for?
Rogue One.
The Force Unleashed. This sounds like heavy Force Unleashed setup. Canon.
Let's not talk about Force Unleashed.
I actually like Force Unleashed a lot.
I like Force Unleashed as well. I think the second game is poopy, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah. I mean, I know that they went in some kind of crazy directions with the Army of Galen clones, but
I keep forgetting he has an actual name.
Yeah, Galen Marek.
Galen Marek.
And people thought that Mads Mikkelsen was playing Galen Marek specifically when they announced his name, which it might still be a possibility, total possibility. Maybe Mads Mikkelsen was a super powerful Jedi who could crash Star Destroyers.
My problem with that being canon is like, okay, you have this Jedi who is essentially a Force freak, and no one talks about him ever.
He's basically the Force equivalent of the Incredible Hulk.
He's ridiculously overpowered. Like, he hands Vader his ass on a silver platter in both games.
Right.
And, no one ever talks about it. I mean, if I were Vader, I would never talk about it either. Because, like, hey, didn't you get your ass kicked by some kid no one really knows? You'd be like, shh, hush.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they had...
I don't know what you're talking about.
In the first game, he basically forms... They use his house sigil as the logo for the rebellion.
Yeah, that's so broad. Like, if you want to make it canon to, like, the original movies, that's fine. But then to have that kind of connection was so just, I don't know, too specific for...
If they do bring him into the new universe, they'll do like what they're doing with Thrawn right now, where I guess they're using what...
Well, they can't use him because he died.
Who? Galen?
Yeah, in 2, it was just his clone.
I know, I'm saying... So if they bring him in, they're not going to use the game storyline.
Yeah, they're gonna... The game storyline, it's got multiple endings, and it's you run into the complication of, like... Because even the good ending of Force Unleashed 2 is completely ridiculous. They capture Vader.
Yeah,
right.
They beat Vader, put him in a ship, and fly off. I'm like, they just won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a
they
victory.
Can't do that. Yeah, like, Rebels isn't adapting the Thrawn books, and I haven't watched it, and I've never actually read the Thrawn books. I just have a very loose idea. But I assume that they're not going to leave it open so that those books can still happen the way that they happened in the old expanded universe.
Well, the expanded universe and the mainline universe have always contradicted. I believe it's like decades ago, before we even had the movies, like the Clone Wars were not what they were presented on screen.
Right. And totally. I assume that what they're doing with Thrawn right now is very different from the old expanded universe. Legends, I believe it's called.
Yeah, it is Legends.
So, but they've made Thrawn canon, technically. He is now canon within Rebels. They can do the same thing with Galen in these new comic books. They can bring him in, make him less powerful than he was in those games, because in a video game, him being that powerful makes sense.
It works for the game. It works for the entertainment value. Like, there's something to be said about if I'm in a TIE fighter factory and I can grab flying TIE fighters and throw them into other TIE fighters, or I can throw TIE fighters into human beings.
Right. But like Galen being 10 and being able to do what Vader did in the end of Rogue One, that is something that they could easily do.
Yeah.
Well, the odds of that happening are very slim because right now the only Star Wars books that are happening are Star Wars, Wars Poe Dameron, Star Wars Dr. Aphra.
Yeah, Aphra is from
Vader.
For Arlen, basically. Dr. Aphra is from the Vader comic. She kind of stood out and got really popular, and now people are really attached to her. Vader brings her in as like a co-conspirator, and he's like, remember, if you screw up, I'll kill you. And when this is over, I'm going to kill you anyway. And she's like, oh.
And she escapes.
Yeah.
And right now, and in February or next month, they're going to be launching a Darth Maul book.
That actually sounds kind of cool.
Can that fucker just stay dead? What the fuck? How many times has Darth Maul come back after being cut in half and kicked down a fucking shaft?
Blame Dave Filoni. It's his fault.
God.
Yeah. You gotta blame Dave.
I've lived through comic book resurrections. I was alive for the death and return of Superman. I'm sorry. That dude was dead. What did he do? Did his top half just crawl to safety?
He got some Sith technology. He
is
basically
that what happened
legs.
in Clone Wars?
Yeah, he got spider legs. Then
who? When?
From Darth something? Yeah, so he has a brother who's like genetically...
Savage Opress.
Wild Wild West legs. You know the classic Will Smith film.
Oh, God. Thanks for that.
Around
I finally know what Chris is here for. Chris is here to do drop-ins of shitty movies.
Cartoon, he also had a brother who was yellow instead of red.
Shit.
Paul had 4 lines of dialogue in epic. He is now the new Boba Fett.
Yeah, I mean...
I thought Phasma was supposed to be the new Boba Fett.
No, she is definitely the new Boba Fett. I mean...
Yeah, but Phasma got jobbed out. Phasma got jobbed out faster than Maul and Boba Fett.
Yeah. I mean... I'm pretty sure she died when Starkiller Base was destroyed.
I thought you were on the planet when it blew up. I got better.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
And also, in the Aftermath novel, someone, I forgot who the character is, finds an abandoned sandcrawler. In it, they find heavily acid Mandalorian armor.
Oh, I've known Boba Fett survive the Starlight for decades.
No, they made it official.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get it.
There was old story. I think there was old novels where he got out and basically he survived because his armor was absorbing all the damage or all the stomach acids, and then I don't know, I can't remember what he did at that point. It was in the old Bounty Hunter books.
No, but in Aftermath, they find they don't outright say it's him,
right?
But it's heavily speculated that it's him,
right? I mean, all they needed to do is say it was Mandalorian armor, and then
that's what happened.
I got a spoiler for you. He's totally alive because there's a Boba Fett movie in production.
Yeah, and I hope that movie just turns into Bounty Hunters. I'd prefer that.
I absolutely would prefer that. Give me more Bosk.
Right, and I thought
what I
about
hope it turns into Star Wars 1313.
Yeah, that would be great. I guess. When I got out of Rogue One, I said, I don't know if I want to see a prequel with any of these characters as the leads, but if they did a prequel about a group of spies and Cassian was one of them, and it was spies versus bounty hunters, I'd be so in.
That sounds awesome.
That's either a good video game or a good comic book.
Well, the idea would be some spies get away with a mission that they shouldn't, and instead of sending Imperial troops after them, they just send all the best bounty hunters in the world or in the galaxy, and Boba Fett would be there, and just everybody, and it's just, I mean, here's the thing, it'd have to be hard PG-13, I mean,
yeah,
or rated R for it to really be interesting.
That's never going to happen.
No disintegrations.
I mean, you could explain that line.
Yeah, exactly.
You have a rebel spy just get murked by Boba Fett, just completely. And maybe Cassian isn't part of the main plot; he gets out early. But I would love to see that. But I wouldn't really want to see a Boba Fett standalone. And I don't think they're actually doing that.
I just hope they do.
Let's thank Fantastic Four for that.
Yeah, the only good thing to come out of Fantastic Four
is that Josh Trank has been put in movie jail.
Well,
I do hope that they eventually make those Obi-Wan movies, because Ewan McGregor was the only good thing about them.
Oh, man. Give me more Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just like...
I mean, have you guys not seen the, what was it? The movie he was in before Star Wars.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. But, like, just do...
Yeah, Trainspotting.
God, that movie is so great.
I saw the trailer for the sequel, and I'm like, take my money now.
Yeah. Like, if I'm writing an Obi-Wan movie, I'm like, The Adventures of Kung Fu, but with Obi-Wan. It's there.
There's 30 years. There's 30 years of time to fill in. You can do practically anything.
Yeah, and it doesn't, like, he's helping small towns that are, like, being attacked by gangsters.
Oh my God, it's a Mad Max movie with Obi-Wan.
Yes. Yes. And, like, he can't use, like, real, like, heavy force powers or, like, real, like, he can't do anything crazy.
Or else they'll be exposed.
Right. He has to keep it low-key. Like, yes, like, so he has to, like, physically hit people. He can't really use his lightsaber. It writes itself.
And
so
you could treat the lightsaber as kind of we did with Rogue One, where once Vader finally unsheaths it, you're like, oh, okay, we're in business.
Oh yeah, like at the end, like I don't know who could fight against a Jedi with a lightsaber, but you build up a bad guy enough, and I mean, yes, like Logan is coming out. Take a look at that. Take the basic idea of that, reverse engineer it, but with Obi-Wan. And you have your movie. And you could do 5 of these. And I'd watch all of them.
Oh, totally.
Every single one of them.
I know people are worried about saturation, because I see people bitching about Marvel's movies because you're like, oh, we're bombarded with 2 movies a year. I'm like, if 2 movies a year is bombardment to you, just get out of the conversation. Because it's you barely, like, they come out in such a way, like, Doctor Strange happened, and, like, it was over in a blink. Like,
well, yeah.
I saw it. We all saw it. Like, we all had an opinion on it, and we kind of moved on. Like, it's fine. And so I'm okay with multiple Star Wars movies.
Yeah, and also like you better get off the train now, then, because next year.
Yeah, this is first of all, everyone's going to do this.
Yeah, 3 a year this
Transformers cinematic universe coming up. If
Sony
had their way, we would have had the Hasbro cinematic universe. If Sony had their way, we'd already be knee-deep in a garbage Spider-Man cinematic universe.
They wanted a Ghostbusters universe.
They wanted to go. They were going to work on one female team and one male team, and then have them team up. Like this isn't a trend. This is.
Did you guys
the next
read Max
wave.
Lance's
Like this is going to happen
for Ghostbusters 3?
Huh?
No, I didn't read it.
He's like the fucking Avengers of comedy descend. And it's like Patton Oswalt, Tina Fey.
Oh.
Look, in my opinion, Ghostbusters 3 already happened, and it was a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Ghostbusters can... I don't know why they ever made a sequel to Ghostbusters to begin with, so...
I still like it.
Yeah. But yeah, with the whole Marvel thing, people need to get on board. We're having Guardians, Spider-Man, and Thor all in the same year. Get on the train, bitches. Yeah.
Also, Wonder Woman and Justice League.
Yeah, the DC movies, the Transformers movies, the Marvel movies, the Star Wars movies. We're getting a Jurassic Park movie. Like, I hate to break it to people who go to the theater, but franchises are what keep movie theaters open.
Right. And after Infinity War, there's a high chance Marvel's getting Fantastic Four back.
Yeah.
So I guarantee we will be entering a period of 4 Marvel movies a year.
Do any of you know where Namor is right now?
They can't use him because he's
Universal technically has Namor right now, I believe.
but they can use them in a team movie if they wanted.
Mm.
So if they decided to make...
It's one of the reasons why we haven't gotten an individual Hulk movie yet, because The Incredible Hulk was, I believe, distributed by Universal, and there's some sort of rights issue there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so
why
if they wanted to make a Namor, Captain America, and classic Human Torch movie, I don't remember the name of that team, but if they wanted to make that movie, they could.
with Bucky and Toro.
Yeah. I don't know if they'll ever do that. I kind of want them to start doing period pieces eventually. But if they were, they could use Namor then, or if they wanted to make him part of the Avengers. And they might do that in Phase 4. You never know.
We shall see. We want to wrap up?
Yeah. I don't think anybody... Does anybody have something burning that they want to talk about? Anything?
Nope.
Yeah, I got nothing.
There's still the Thor Ragnarok synopsis that got released.
I didn't read that, actually.
Alan, I can always count on you when everyone goes, all right, let's wrap up. Alan's like, but...
Yeah, because I've been writing for most of the day. Or for the past hour and a half.
Yeah. Alan's my workhorse.
Chris, stop it, for God's sakes.
And I can count on Chris to have dynamite drop-ins of terrible movies.
Yep.
You brought up Robot
Don't
Spider.
Don't you dare bring up League.
First, not only did Disney release the Thor Ragnarok synopsis, they delivered, or they posted a behind-the-scenes shot. And it has the director, whose name I cannot pronounce.
Taika Waititi.
Yeah, who of What We Do in the Shadows fame. And I had no idea that that was actually him in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and What We Do in the Shadows. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that movie is so good.
That movie is great.
What are you
do
bidding
my evil
on?
bidding. What are you bidding on? A table. Flat meeting, 10 minutes. Make it 20.
We're werewolves, not swearwolves.
God damn it.
Peter is 4,000 years old. He's not coming to the flat meeting. Okay, anyway. I can gush about that movie all day.
Okay.
He told me I was his slave, and then he drained my blood, and then it was Peter. And now we've been friends ever since. God fucking damn it.
I can't wait for that sequel.
Oh, yes. That one's going to be great.
In Marvel Studios' Thor Ragnarok, Thor is imprisoned on the other side of the universe without his mighty hammer and finds himself in a race against time to get back to Asgard to stop Ragnarok, the destruction of his homeworld and the end of Asgardian civilization, at the hands of an all-powerful new threat, the ruthless Hela. But first he must survive a deadly gladiatorial contest that pits him against his former ally and fellow Avenger, the Incredible Hulk. Thor Ragnarok is directed by...
Taika Waititi.
And returns Chris Hemsworth starring as Thor and Tom Hiddleston reprising his role as Loki. They're joined by Cate Blanchett, Hela, Idris Elba, Heimdall, Jeff Goldblum, what was it, Game Master or Taskmaster?
Grandmaster.
Grandmaster.
Taskmaster is a different Marvel entity.
Probably owned by X-Men.
Wait, Carl Urban's in this movie? Oh, fuck yeah.
Tessa Thompson.
He's my favorite B-plus guy.
Carl Urban. with Mark Ruffalo's returning as Bruce Banner, a.k.a. the Hulk. And Anthony Hopkins as Odin, a.k.a. Rorschach from Watchmen. Because he's basically playing Walter Kovac, or Rorschach's side gig.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
And also, despite news that Benedict Cumberbatch will also appear in the film as Sorcerer Supreme Stephen Strange, We don't know how much screen time or what role Cumberbatch will play in the film.
We know the minimum. What was that, Chris?
It's got to be something with Hela, probably.
Maybe.
I guarantee you that the end of Doctor Strange with Thor and him talking is actually in the movie, like they did with Winter Soldier, like they did with the end of what was it?
Right.
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man into Civil War. I guarantee.
Yeah, like at minimum, we'll see the entirety of that scene.
Yeah.
At minimum. If not, him joining them, which is almost like a little mini Avengers team on its own. This movie is kind of like, oh, everybody who wasn't a part of Civil War, this is what they were doing, which is a really good choice, I thought.
Good, more team ups the better. Because
yeah,
I gotta tell you, I like Thor as a character. Nobody gives a fuck about his business.
Yeah, I've always thought, for as long as this, or since the Avengers, I should say, since this is the only first time we really saw him with other characters.
Hey, Civil War 2. One of Ulysses' visions. Thor versus Loki.
Alan, I'm going to reach the internet and strangle you now, because now you've brought us way back to the beginning of the episode and reminded me of that pile of shit comic book.
I had to.
But, no, Thor is better when he's with other characters. Pure and simple. He just is.
Yeah.
He's better when he has a human character for his ridiculousness to bounce off of. He's much better when he is responding to Tony Stark. He is much better when he is responding to Captain America, and vice versa. He's one of the better parts of Age of Ultron, I think, specifically because of his interactions with other characters.
Oh, when he walks up and picks up Tony by the throat. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. I mean...
And that's which is why I always say, like, Tony has been wrong for a long time, and by Age of Ultron, even Thor is like, you need to stop messing with shit you don't understand. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's... Yeah, and there are Thor haters out there. I vehemently disagree with you people, but you're entitled to your opinion.
I still like that.
Sucks.
I still like that Team Thor video.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Especially when he's talking about Cap killing those soldiers.
It's a picture I drew. It's a picture of Mjolnir, and who's Mjolnir holding? Me. God,
this man
damn
in
it.
the chair doesn't like standing up.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because this plot synopsis told me nothing new.
Yeah,
this is
all stuff I imagined was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, like we all knew about the gladiatorial combat contest thing before they even announced it.
Since like the earlier Comic-Cons, haven't we? Because like all the props were there.
Yeah, I mean there was a rumor way back when. Before Guardians came out and smashed everybody over the head with awesomeness, that if Guardians failed, they would do another Hulk movie with Hulk and the Guardians in it. Because the idea was, well, Ultron hasn't come out yet. Hulk is the best part of the Avengers. If we put Hulk in Guardians, and even if Guardians doesn't do well, the next movie will do well because of Hulk. And the plot that they suggested was the Guardians on Battleworld, or whatever it's called. Planet Hulk. Them going there and having to fight the Hulk or something, or team up with the Hulk, help him get free, because I guess they are a big part of the Planet Hulk storyline at some point. And that was something, and it evolved into Thor 3, which completely makes sense. Especially seeing as Guardians did come out and again smashed everybody over the head with how amazing it was. Yeah, I don't know. Anybody find something in here that they didn't actually know about beforehand?
Not really.
Yeah.
Carl Urban is probably the only revelation for me. Makes me excited.
He's one of my
favorites. That guy actors.
Yeah, if he brings even half the campiness he brought to the second Riddick movie, I'm in.
I was about to say, like, I unashamedly no apologies. I love the Riddick franchise, and I will fight anyone who challenges me on that. I love that series to death. And I went and saw the last one, and when he pops up in the beginning, I was like, oh, fuck, yeah.
Yeah. He's great in those movies. I think those movies get far too much hate. They're fucking ridiculous.
They're awesome. They're so cool. And it produced two of the best first-person stealth games I've ever played.
Right. And, like, the concept of people who are half dead and half alive, I'm sorry, that's something I've never seen before.
I just like that it's like this weird, like, it went from this kind of weird horror movie with Pitch Black to
like an alien knockoff.
Full on, like, oh, there's cultures and races, and it's a universe. They blew it up in one movie. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Yeah. In the middle of it, you have a character who couldn't give a shit about any of it.
Yeah, he's like Han Solo times 5.
Yeah, he doesn't care about anything. He just wants to be left alone.
Yeah. And, yeah, Muslims are the dominant religion. It's all crazy and different and not our world. And that's what I loved about it, because it's obvious, like, the future, but it felt so different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, those movies, worth a watch if you're on the fence. You see him on the Netflix, and you're like, oh, wait, what's that? Is that Vin Diesel in a crappy direct-to-DVD thing? No.
And then when you're done with that, please go play Escape from Butcher Bay.
Right. Yes.
On that note, I have nothing else to add today.
Yeah, I don't know. Whenever I'm reminded that Idris Elba is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I have a second of, oh wait, he's Heimdall. Well, that's uninteresting. Like, Idris Elba is such a great, like, star, in my opinion.
He's a force of nature, and they have him stand at what's basically a giant clock.
Yeah, like, give Heimdall more to do, maybe. I don't know. Something other than just having him stand there. I mean, like, the one moment where he actually does something in Thor 2 was better than everything he did in Thor 1, where he, like, attacks that ship that's flying by.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or actually, no, I think I like his scene in Age of Ultron better. And even that's just him, like, holding Thor by the shoulders and, like, yelling at him.
Well, he gets to emote, that's the thing.
Yeah. I wish we had more time. Because, Chris, you did just bring up something important on the chat.
Oh, dear God.
I don't know. I can talk about the trailer real quick. They released a trailer at the end of the Christmas special for Doctor Who, and they introduced
Which I still haven't watched. I have nothing to contribute to this.
Yeah.
We
won't talk about it. Yeah, they showed Bill. She looks good. I don't know.
I liked what she said about the TARDIS. It looks like a big kitchen.
Yeah. I never feel good judging companions, and especially Moffat companions, because they're never what you expect them to be, even more so than RTD companions. I mean, Clara was a mystery until we had seen Jenna Coleman for 3 whole episodes. So, no, for an entire season, really. So, I don't know. I'll wait to reserve judgment. She looks like she's going to be funny, though, which is interesting, because I feel like the relationship has always been either the companion is funny or the Doctor is funny. And it's rarely ever that they are both funny, or at least funny in the same way.
I did see her taking a piss at Dalek appearances.
Yeah. Like, she seems very, like, broad humor, and Capaldi is very much like irony and wordplay. So, it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, those are my thoughts on Bill in the 30-second teaser we saw. I don't know. Doctor Who, I'm not as excited about Doctor Who as I feel like I should be. It looks like they're going to Victorian times. Not into that. I don't know.
I'll wait and see.
Yeah. Their track record with Victorian times is like 1 for 7, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I have not out of any sort of ill feelings. I've kind of fallen off the Doctor Who wagon just because there's been nothing for almost 2 years now. So
yeah.
Did you guys see that thing where it's from Torchwood, where it says the
R.I.P.
No, it's
most likely.
When they talk about why the Doctor doesn't show up.
Because
he doesn't care about us, and it is like that explains 2016 absence.
You know what has been making me angry is I keep on seeing gifs from Class.
It's coming next year.
It looks like Peter Capaldi is a big part of that show, and I'm like, this feels like you're withholding me some 12th Doctor. I don't enjoy that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited, I guess. Capaldi is maybe my second favorite Doctor.
I am a New Who fan, so I mean, between the 4 that I've seen, he's my second favorite.
Yeah,
I still love McCoy, and this is the 30th anniversary of Series 27. Not Series 27.
That's interesting.
Series 24.
Huh. That's good to know.
I think I should tweet Andrew Carmel that.
All right, I think we've exhausted ourselves. Although we are coming in at we're coming in at an hour and 30 minutes, just like we normally do.
On the nose.
Yep. All right. Does anybody want to take us out?
Sure.
Long live Carrie Fisher.